Hello, this is Steven Hour, and we are here with another movie review. And today we'll be reviewing the 1972 film, my all-time favorite film of all time. We are reviewing The Godfather. Now, before we get into the cast, before we get into my opinions, overall view of the plot, let's get into a bit of background. Now, The Godfather was based off the novel of the same name, this best-selling novel by Mario Puzo. And when the studio, and it was directed by Sir Francis Ford Coppola, who wanted to do this sort of, and basically, if The Godfather is this big gangster epic, and was really the first time to really depict the Italian mafia in its glory days in America, with so many big names attached to the role, one of which was not yet a big name at the time, but this film would help catapult him into being a major movie star. But there's also a lot of problems behind the scenes. The studio, Francis Ford Coppola was constantly fighting with the studio for creative control on what he wanted to do with the film. There was a lot of behind-the-scenes problems. When they were filming, they were having conflicts with the Italian Civil Rights League, which was being led by Joe Colombo, aka one of the biggest mafia bosses in New York at the time, one of the big five. Also, this is even said, that he had so much power that he asked to see the script of The Godfather, and took all the words mafia, or even a reference to mafia, out of the script. Eventually, they managed to compromise, and as a result, they managed to help with the production of The Godfather. And then it was released, and became one of the biggest hits of that year, winning numerous awards, and being considered by many to be one of the greatest films of all time. But the question remains, is it the greatest film of all time? Well, before we do that, let's head straight to the cast. Like I said, a lot of big names were in this movie. First off, Vito Corleone, portrayed by Hollywood icon Marlon Brando. He won an Oscar for his performance, though turned it down because of some rights. Well, not right. Well, like he was a sort of like part of this Native American league, and he turned it down because he did, because of his beliefs around this time. This was also one of the first major starring roles for Al Pacino, arguably considered one of the greatest actors of all time. And here, he portrays Michael Corleone, Vito's son, as this. And I like how Michael's character is. He's very different. Here we also have Tom Hagen, essentially an adopted son to Vito Corleone in a way. Tom Hagen was portrayed by Robert Duvall, another great actor, and essentially is the family's unofficial official consigliere despite his heritage, and I'll explain that more when we get into later. Rounding out the rest of the Corleone family include Sonny Corleone, portrayed by James Caan, the oldest son and the family underboss. We also here have another member of the Corleone crime family, Fredo Corleone, portrayed by John Cazale. Probably not pronouncing that last name quite right. And of course, we have Kay Adams, portrayed by Diane Keaton, and essentially is Michael's love interest for the film. Other characters included in here we get for the film include Connie Corleone, Vito's daughter, and of course we have Carlo Rizza, portrayed by Gino Russo, essentially her husband, an interesting character to say the least. We also here have Al Martino as Johnny Fontaine, this big, this big performer, and essentially is Vito's godson. Other members of the Corleone family, the crime syndicate, include Abe Vigoda as Salvio Tessio, a top capo within the family. We have Peter Clemenza, portrayed by Richard S. Castellano, sorry. And if that name should sound familiar if you're huge in mob circles, this guy is actually related to Paul Castellano. So I found that very, very interesting. And right beside him is Paulie, who essentially is a soldier within the Corleone crime family, and his actor is, so let me check my notes, is Johnny Martino. And of course we have other people within the Corleone crime family. More so, we have Al Nero, who is essentially Michael's number two bodyguard. He appears in the following sequels, where his position rises within the organization, and he is portrayed by Richard Bright. We also here have Luca Brasi, Vito's #1 enforcer and guy that he could always depend on, portrayed by Lenny Montana. And he's a very interesting, from what I heard, he was an actual former mob enforcer. And the scene where he meets Corleone, how he's nervous to speak, is because in real life, the actor was nervous speaking around Marlon Brando. But they later written to the script, but this was because the scene where he was practicing to speak in front of Vito because of the respect he had. Other members of the cast include mostly the protagonists of the film. First off, there are other members of the commission, like the other members of the 5 families, which include folks like Philip Tattaglia, Cuneo, Barzini, and Victor Starosky, essentially like the other mob families. We also here have Captain McCluskey, essentially a crooked police chief, the Turk, or Salazzo, known as the Turk, and basically he's this big drug dealer, and also Mo Green, which essentially is based off the infamous Bugsy Siegel. All of these guys are really protagonists of the film, and really just shows like what kind of world we are in with this film. Now, with the cast out of the way, let's get into a bit of the plot. The plot of the film is about this crime family. A crime family spanning from 1945 to 1955, and basically chronicles its patriarch Vito Corleone and the relationship with his son Michael Corleone. And essentially, really the plot really focuses on Michael, with essentially this world of organized crime, a bit of deceit, a little bit of backstabbing, but also the side of honor and loyalty to family. And Michael he doesn't want to be a part of it, but after a failed assassination attempt on Vito, he decides to become a part of the life, and eventually the story also tells his rise to become the new leader of the crime family. Good things like about this film, first off, so many great performances here. with an all-started cast, you're naturally gonna get that. The visual aesthetics, I love that sort of 40s theme, both in clothing and also just like the time period. I also like just how this story is really a crime drama, and also has arguably some of the most gruesome and violent scenes. Again, with Marlon Brando's Vito Corleone really stealing the show, maybe a bit cliche by today's standards, but I disagree. It is absolutely fantastic. Al Pacino's role as Michael Corleone is also another great highlight. How he is more complex. He doesn't want to be a part of the family business and wants to live his own life, but after a tragedy, he gets involved. I like how that is written very good, very well into the story. And also like how, so many great quotes came from this. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. It's nothing personal. It's strictly business. Or, you sleep with the fishes. All great. And, honestly, even though they are criminals, they are shown to be human. And also, like, two sides of them. Now, and honestly, when thinking, and this is why I like it, because it's such a gripping story that gets me invested and to see where all the characters go. But the question remains, are there any bad things to this film? Well, if I could really say one bad thing to this film, and it's honestly not, it's probably taste. And by that I mean normal, modern audiences. People may complain the film may drag a bit. And I will not deny, yeah, when I first watched this film, a few times it does drag. But it also shows, arguably, maybe the thing that I think, even though I love this film, it's my favorite film of all time. The thing that still has me roll my eyes is the relationship with Connie and Carlo. Not because it's bad, but it's just so uncomfortable to watch because of that, domestic violent relationship or marriage. I'm sorry, I can't watch it because it's just that. I also will admit, when Michael goes to Sicily, he runs into this other woman and he marries her. And she dies quickly. I like how I will admit, I wish we could have seen more of that effect, especially when he comes back and wants to marry Kay and start a family with her. I don't know, I guess it was kind of hit at and I don't know. I will admit, part of that kind of hasn't aged well, and I will ask, did that really fit well into the story? It would, and ironically, it would for the sequels, ironically, but not, but I don't know, just stuff that kind of made me question years later. Other than that, those are the really bad things. And honestly, no one here in this film gives an absolutely bad performance. Everyone is so great. James Caan as the tempered Corleone. Fredo as this guy who pretty much wouldn't hurt a fly, and Michael sharing a lot of parallels with his father. Now, I also I probably should say there's some good things about the film, but something I noticed, all the sons share an aspect of Vito's character. Sonny has the strength. Tom, adopted, shares Vito's loyalty. Michael has the drive and ruthlessness and smarts. Fredo has the humanity side. Even though they all share a quality to Vito, they also have some negative quality. Well, maybe with the exception of Tom, I would say, each have a contrasting negative quality. And that makes them very interesting and stand out. And that's honestly really all the good things and bad things I can say, because I don't think any word could truly describe how fantastic this film is. The cinematography, the lighting, the atmosphere that this film is showing us is absolutely breathtaking. And with that said, I give this film 5 out of 5 stars. This is truly a masterpiece, and of course, is one of the greatest films of all time. It deserves every Oscar nomination that it both was nominated for and won. Francis Ford Coppola gave arguably one of cinema's most greatest performances, greatest films, and with so many great performances, how could I not give this film 5 out of 5 stars? It is absolutely fantastic. And there we have it. That was The Godfather. That was my view on the film. It's still my all-time favorite film of all time, regardless of genre, and it is a film that is so captivating and just grabs your attention. So join us next time in the Steven Hour when we review the next film in this movie review series. The next film we will be reviewing will be John Wick. So tune in when we review that one. But until then, this has been the Steven Hour, and ladies and gentlemen, so long for now.